Hello, friends, and welcome back to Sesh Cast. My name is GLDLX. This is Sesh Cast, a cannabis podcast for cannabis sessions. And today it is early. It is very early where I am. In fact, it's 8:16 a.m. early, which for a night worker and late riser like myself is very early. And I just concluded my wake and bake for today, and a wake and bake it was. It started at 7:30, when I literally rolled directly out of bed, crawled into my studio after a brief stop at the Keurig, and sat down to smoke weed. And here I am now on minimal sleep because I worked quite late last night, and maximal highness because I am already quite stoned. I'm going to record an episode, and it's going to be a ride. And I will get to a little bit more about today's topic here in a few moments. But this is Sesh Cast. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for stopping by. I do appreciate it. This is a podcast where I get high and I talk about things, and I hope that you enjoy those things. At least that's the goal here. So you can find me in pretty much all of your podcast places if you're listening to me somewhere that is uncomfortable for you. I am on Spotify, I am on Stitcher, I am on iTunes, I am all over the places, mostly, as far as podcasts go. And social media wise, I am on Instagram at Sesh Cast. Head on over there and see what I got going on. That is where I post pictures of all of the things that I smoke out of for each episode. And that is also what I live stream on as well. I did a live stream this morning that was attended by two of my buddies, my podcast family friends. Mark from My Worst Holiday, a show that I've talked about, I think, before. A show that I've been on. And Eli and Blizzard the Wizard from the Not So Crazy podcast of Blizzard the Wizard and Eli. Also good friends of mine. So thank you guys for swinging by the live stream this morning. I do a little quick Instagram live before every episode I record, so that I can smoke my first bowl and get used to talking to people. Because typically when I smoke, it's a solo experience, and I smoke with people sometimes. But often it's me at the end of the day when I get home from work and I'm trying to go to bed and I want to smoke a bowl before I go to bed, and so I'm just sitting staring at my phone. So I'm not really used to dialogue when I'm stoned all the time, so I get warmed up with that with Instagram Live. And if live streams are things that you like, typically you get a little bit of a preview of the glass piece of the episode as well. So you can always check those out if you like that. So again, I'm at Seshcast on Instagram, and I have podcasty things all over the podcasty places. And you can find me on the interwebs at seshcast.libsyn.com if you're looking for a real website to go to that has minimal things on it other than contact information and my episodes, because I can't afford to build a website right now, but that's neither here nor there. Today, I am smoking on, what is this? This is Diablo. I am smoking on more of the Diablo, which I think was what I smoked in the last episode, which went really well, and I really enjoyed. My last episode is one of my favorites. That's episode 14, Algorithms. I don't remember exactly what I named it, but go check that out if you do so feel. It's a good one. I like it a lot. But I'm smoking on more Diablo today, but I did not smoke my first bowl of Diablo. My first bowl was a grinder mix of Granddaddy Purple and what I'm pretty sure was green crack. I was hanging out with some friends the other night, and one of them borrowed my grinder to grind up some of his weed, and I was like, sure, man, I'll take your keef. And I think he said that it was green crack that he put in there, but to be completely honest, I don't totally remember. So I think it was green crack mixed in with the very end of my Granddaddy Purple stash. And it was great, and I really enjoyed it. Tasted great and looked amazing, because it was very purple weed and very green weed grinded together, which I like a lot. But this morning, I am finishing this morning. Today, I am finishing this morning. I think that was what I meant to say with Diablo. And obviously I'm already quite high, and the Diablo is quite strong, so it should be interesting here in half an hour or so, what I sound like. Diablo is really great. I like it a lot. It's been hitting me really hard in the face. It's a pretty indica feel for me, at least. I mean, there's a little bit of a head numbing kind of like sativa. Like, there are those sativas that make you think like crazy, and then there are sativas that just kind of numb your head. And you get a little bit of that with the Diablo. But mostly it puts me down, man. It puts me right down, and I love it. So it's great. It's kind of like the back of the mouth spice sort of taste. I'm not great at describing taste yet. I'm working on that, but it's real good. And I am smoking out of my little wake and bake coffee mug, which I like a whole bunch. I got this as a gift from work, actually. And it is literally a coffee mug that you can smoke weed out of and drink coffee out of. I think a lot of YouTubers have done different little features of this, and I'll put it up on my Instagram, of course. But it's fun. I've honestly never drank hot liquid out of it before, and I'd be lying if I said I was drinking coffee this morning, because I'm not much of a coffee drinker. I'm actually drinking hot chocolate because my roommate had one for the Keurig, and I wanted to match the aesthetic. Lulz, I'm serious, but I have some pretty lukewarm now because it's been sitting out for an hour hot chocolate out of my wake and bake coffee mug with some Diablo. So I'm gonna very carefully try and pick this up and not spill weed or hot chocolate. I've used this before with ice in it because it cools the smoke, but the hot liquid thing I think might heat the smoke. Luckily, this hot cocoa is lukewarm, like I said, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit this. Cheers, friends. I will say this little guy rips, and it's my piece, and I totally just forgot that it has a carb on it. Where is that? Can't there it is. Hold on. Yeah, so like, your smoke chamber is the whole mug. Oh boy. Oh, if there's a time I'm gonna spill, it's when I cough. The coffee mug is like the whole bowl. It's huge. But the bowl to hold weed, also pretty huge, but set at a really awful angle. I'm gonna take a drink of this now, so I'll be right back. And I am back now. It's really, really great, but the bowl is at a really awful angle. It's like slanted way too far down, so it's really, really easy to spill if you don't have super sticky weed, which I don't, because sometimes I accidentally freeze my weed because I'm a dingus. I sometimes accidentally just leave my weed sitting out in my room, which is dark all the time, but is also cold all the time because I frequently keep the window open, and it's snowing here right now. So I sometimes accidentally like freeze my weed and it dries it out real bad, because I am a dingus. But anyway, today's topic. Today we are talking about mornings. Kind of, not really. I want to try this new thing, and I actually I gave a shout out to Eli and Blizz earlier, but Eli from the Not So Crazy podcast of Blizzard the Wizard and Eli, which I really need a shorter name for because it's hard to say. He gave me this idea. It was like, I kind of like the idea of going in with nothing, and I was like, and a podcast that is all based around me getting high and talking about something. How funny would it be if I got high and talked about nothing? And maybe funny is not the right word. Maybe how stereotypical or how obvious or how fun would that be? So that's what I'm doing today. I want to start this new thing, I think, and I'm going to call it the Morning Series. And depending on how this one goes, they may come out every 5 episodes. They may come out, since this is episode 15, maybe they'll come out every 15 episodes. It depends how often I actually want to get up super early one day. But my thought is, just kind of to like not really have anything to talk about, but get up and do a wake and bake and get really high and see what I end up talking about. Because that was my whole idea for this podcast anyway, right? Was like just to sort of have something to ramble about in any direction and whatever it goes. And um, so I want to just like do that every once in a while. No topic in mind. And I hate getting up in the morning. It's like super not my favorite thing in the world. But I have a lot to do today, and I'm super stressed. And one thing that I have definitely found out in my own life is that sleeping in does not necessarily help stress. Sleeping more helps stress. Sleeping in, not necessarily the most helpful thing for the stress. Um, and I say that because when you sleep your whole day awake, it's really hard to accomplish a list of things. And I have a long list of things to do today. And a long list of very important things to do today that I've been putting off for way too long. And so I really figured the only way that I was going to be able to make all of these things happen was if I actually got up early and committed to doing something. So I had this episode that I had to record today, and I am not the type of person who like enjoys getting stoned and then doing things. I can get stoned and do things. I smoke a lot of weed. I can get stoned and do just about anything, except probably operate heavy machinery because I tried that for the first time on Easter. And let me tell you, that's not as easy as you think it might be. You ever look at people driving a backhoe and you're like, wow, I bet I could do that? You know, you probably can, but it's going to take some practice because that is hard. And maybe I'll tell that story later. But yeah, I don't remember how I got here. Oh, I can do a lot of things when I'm stoned, but I don't really enjoy doing a lot of things when I'm stoned. I much prefer to like get stoned and listen to music, or get stoned and watch a movie, or I don't know, just get stoned and mellow out. The like getting stoned and doing, not really my jam. Um, but often when I record episodes, I'm just kind of like strong armed into I have one point in the day where I can sit down and be high for a while, so that's when I have to do it. And then it just makes it hard to accomplish a bunch of other stuff throughout my day. So I honestly figured like I would get up this morning, I would bust out this episode, and then I could like crash nap for a little while and like finish out my sleep. And that way, if I got up at 10 after getting 8 hours of sleep, I wouldn't feel so bad because I would have the episode out of the way and I would have slept off most of the wake and bake, which was kind of my goal anyway, which I think is different than most people. I think a lot of people like to wake and bake and then just be baked for an extended period of time. And if that's you, like, no judgment, good on you, man. I kind of wish I could do that, but I get really awful come down headaches. It's not even so much of like being high and doing something. It's the part of becoming not high. Being not high after being high, not my favorite. Being not high, not something I mind. That's okay. Like, not one of those people who needs to be stoned 100% of the time. But the being really high and then slowly becoming not high, not my favorite. And then I always get a really nasty headache and I just can't seem to shake it unless I smoke more. And often I've become not high because I'm not able to smoke more, be it for time or other commitment things. Because like once I start smoking, I will pretty much always smoke more. Yeah, I don't know. That was a really long ramble. I'm sorry, but like, that's where I'm at right now. Like, it's just the morning, and honestly, as soon as I said I forgot what I was talking about, other than the fact that I had been rambling. So I guess it's time to move on. And this is why morning sessions are interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and take another hit. And probably another drink of this. Cheers, friends. Oh boy. I probably should not be smoking as much as I am right now. I have sort of this nasty cough going on, and the the kicker with the cough is that your throat gets inflamed, obviously, and you probably shouldn't smoke when your throat is inflamed because it's not really going to help. But At the same time, I've got some other stuff going on that, like, medically, I kind of need to be smoking right now. It's hard life, man. Let me tell you. And I say that full well knowing that there are problems significantly worse than when I can and can't smoke weed in the world that are not like just are much bigger than that problem. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's an early morning and I don't really have a ton to talk about, but I suppose I should talk about something. Um, and I don't know. I saw Ready Player One this weekend. And I'm gonna keep this completely spoiler free. So if you haven't seen it and want to, don't panic. But uh, I was talking about that during my live stream, and I said I wasn't gonna bring it up in the episode, but maybe I'm gonna real quick, just because it's kind of in my brain. Ready Player One, the movie, really disappointed me. Ready Player One, the book, is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I think that those two things are like, I think that the first of those things is because the second of those things. Um, I think if you haven't read the book, you could really enjoy the movie. If you've read the book, I don't necessarily think you're gonna like it. And the reason that I didn't like it is because they changed a lot in the movie from the book, and maybe that's what I want to rant about. I don't know. Um, I watch a lot of movies. I read a lot more movies, or I'm sorry, I read a lot more movies. I watch a lot more movies than I read books. Uh, due largely in part because I like it that way. I'm not much of a reader. I should probably be more of a reader. I don't really enjoy reading all that much. I'm a very, very slow reader, so I don't read often. But I do watch a boatload of movies. And I've watched a lot of movies now that I think we've hit a point in movie world, in like culture, I guess, that the excuse for you can't turn a book into a good movie, it has been negated. I think it's been proven enough times that you darn well toot and can do it. It's just really hard. And I wish that more people would sort of shy away from this idea of making books into movies because it's been seen so many times that it is incredibly difficult to do. I think the reason they haven't stopped doing it is because it makes people a lot of money. Because when there's already a developed fan base for a thing, when there's already a fandom, of course the movie's going to sell well because everybody's going to want to see it. It's the people who don't see it right away and then word travels to them and then they don't see it, and that's when you start losing money. But initially, you'll do really well. So if you can hype it up enough, which I feel like is exactly what they did with Ready Player One, then boom, you're there. You're going to make a boatload of money. And I wish people would stop doing that. Like, all right, this is one of my biggest pet peeves with the world is that everybody just wants money. And I guess that's like, I don't know. There are a lot of opinions there. That was a bold statement. Let me see if I can delve into that a little bit more. Harumph. Let me take another hit of this bowl and then see if I can delve into this more. So that was, I wish that people weren't like, I wish that not everybody was driven by money. That's what I'm gonna try and come back to. I'm gonna try really hard to come back to that. You have my word. Cheers. I hope you're enjoying my slightly less infrequent coughing fits. It's gonna be kind of interesting because the only liquid I have down here is this hot chocolate, which I need to like clean the mug off a little bit here. Give me a second. Get a good old fashioned mug licking in there. Does everybody lick their mugs? Is that a thing that everybody does? Like, you've got. Oh boy, it came out of nowhere. Oh gosh. Okay. Um, you get that like dribble that comes down the side of your mug, and instead of like wiping it off with your finger or a napkin, you pick the mug up and like give it a good full like mid-tongue lick. It's not like the tip of your tongue, it's the middle of your tongue, the sort of like the wide part, but not the like, why are you touching this far back on my tongue part, the middle of your tongue, and you kind of like lick it up the mug. I have either now activated a deep thing, and a lot of people and everybody's been like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, or everybody's like, that was weird, you are weird, and now everybody's gonna look out for me and watch me lick my mugs. So I hope that's not what I did. So money, it's a crime. The thing that kills me is that like I feel like tons of people in this world are more driven by making the most money they can, instead of producing the best thing that they can. And I don't just mean that in the movie industry. Like, that's a really general way to describe my problem with a lot of people. So let me rephrase, I wish people weren't driven by money, because I don't necessarily think that's true. I wish people weren't driven by profit margins or like net profit, because I hate how how often everybody finds cheap ways out, or like ways to, maybe that's not right, because like if you can do something, like if you can cut cost but not sacrifice quality, then that's okay. But like when you cut corners, that's when I start to have issues. And that's sort of how I feel about Ready Player One, and honestly how I feel about a lot of movie adaptations of books, is that they just end up cutting corners, and it's hard because books are huge. There's a lot in a book. If you've never really sat down and read like a novel, which I mean, like, seriously, no judgment, I do not read often. I read maybe 2 books all of last year, and I think if we're being honest, it may be less than that. I do not read much. I'm a very auditory learner. I learn by listening. I can listen to a book. I've listened to countless books. That's why I enjoy books. I just don't enjoy reading. Literature, great. Literature consumption, difficult. Es difícil. But the like the thing with comic book movies is that, or not comic book movies, but that's where I was gonna go next. Darn it, I spoiled my own ending. My thing with book movies is like there's just so much in books, so much detail and so much plot and storyline, because you're telling something over 400 pages of text, give take a couple hundred, and then you're trying to cram all that into like a 2-hour movie, because that's the other thing. We've gotten to the point where it's acceptable for movies to be 2 hours, and like, woof. It's if we're being honest, it's getting hard to sit in theaters through whole movies, and you know I'm right. Like, you know it's harder to hold it till the end of the movie. You go to the movies and you get a big soda. It's hard, man, to get the whole way through the movie, and that's for anybody, I think. Which is not how it was when I was a kid, and it kind of bums me out. I would rather just see more long series. The plural of series is series. Multiple series. They're mini series of movies. Yeah, that's right. The plural of series is series. So, yeah, like the movies have gotten to the point where like they're cramming 400 pages into 2 hours, and it does not take me 2 hours to read 400 pages. It takes me like 2 weeks to read 400 pages. So when you take a movie and you cut out a whole bunch of stuff, you end up with either a half-told storyline, or you do what I feel Ready Player One did, and I promise, again, spoiler-free, but I'm going to give you some info that, like, you could probably get from a little bit of research. But I'm not going to spoil a movie for you at all. But what I'm going to say is, like, you end up with either a movie that has a half-told story, or you get to the point where you have to alter major story parts to get to the same ending. And that's how I feel about the movie adaptation of Ready Player One. So if you haven't read the book, you can see that movie and really enjoy it. It's a good movie. But if you've read the book, it can be difficult at times unless you're okay with that. And I was not personally okay with that. Not that they should make the movie on my accord, but what I'm saying here is that, like, Marvel has really proved with their comic book movies that you can either take a book story and retell it incredibly well, and or you can take story parts that would be really believable in the book and make them happen in a movie and make it okay. Like, comic book movies, and Marvel specifically, because they're just so much better at it than everybody else, I think have negated the argument that you can't, have negated the idea that you can't make a good book movie or a good written media movie adaptation, or movie adaptation of written media, because their comic book movies have just excelled, and they've gotten so good. And, like, I love comics. I've read a decent amount of comics in my life, and so I know that Marvel has changed a lot of things in the MCU. But the other thing that Marvel did well was being very clear that the MCU was gonna be canonically different than the comic book universe. And that's the thing that, like, I think a lot of people don't do. And I'm not saying that they have to create whole new universes. I think that would confuse a lot of people. But if you take a movie and you try really hard to make the trailer look exactly like everything from the book, and then you watch the movie and it's not that, it's irritating. Those are my feelings about Ready Player One. I got baited and switched, and it irritated me, and I'm not happy about it. It's a good movie, high entertainment value, very pretty to look at, doesn't follow the book. Take that for what you will. And that is why I wish people weren't driven by profits, I guess, because I know that's how I got here, and I know that's not what I just talked about. So maybe I'll try and talk about that again after I hit this again, or maybe I'll talk about something else. Who knows? Cheers. Ooh, now I have cold chocolate. I no longer have hot chocolate. I have distinctly cold chocolate, and that's interesting. So I'm not much of a coffee drinker, evident by me drinking a hot chocolate out of a coffee mug, which kind of, destroys the aesthetic of this, like, wake and bake thing. And it kind of disappoints me sometimes. I wish that I really liked coffee. All my friends like coffee. Everybody I know who smokes weed likes coffee. You know who doesn't like coffee? This guy. So I don't know. Like, I wish that I did, but I don't. So I have this hot chocolate, and this hot chocolate is pretty good. But now it's actually cold, and I'm not so happy about that. But I'm out of water. I drank all my water during my live stream today, and so all I have is this hot chocolate, and that's interesting to only have, like, oh no, I have the cost. What do you have to drink? Cold hot chocolate. Weird. So, okay, so here's another thing I could talk about. Show update. I think I might take down my SoundCloud. And I think that I need opinions on that. So if you are a SoundCloud listener, please wave at me somehow. Like, I don't need, like, an email or, like, okay, feel free to email me, comment on something, like something, I don't know, message me on SoundCloud if that's a thing you can do. Like, hit me up somehow, please. It doesn't have to be huge and elaborate is what I was trying to say. Like, if you're like, I'm just kind of a listener, I don't really want to interact, like, Just like do a little bit of something if you're on SoundCloud, or your main way of listening to me might go away, and I don't want to do that to you. But SoundCloud is giving me nothing but problems uploading right now. Like, it's so obnoxious to upload to SoundCloud because I don't pay for it because I can't afford to pay for two things. Excuse me. So if you're on SoundCloud, please like give me a wave somehow so I know either not to delete that, or to hopefully come up with something that will be equally as accessible for you as SoundCloud is, because I know that that's a thing for a lot of people. If you have one way to listen to podcasts and a podcast isn't on that thing anymore, then you'd stop listening to that podcast. You don't follow them somewhere else. I get that. I level. Maybe if I was like a big podcast, like maybe I was Welcome to Night Vale or My Brother and Me or something like that, people would follow me. But I get it, man. I'm little. So if you're listening to me on SoundCloud, I want to make your life easier. Please tell me how I can do that. If nobody tells me that they listen to me on SoundCloud, I'm deleting it because, man, it's a pain. I have limited storage space on there, and unlike almost all of my other outlets, I can't manage my uploads of SoundCloud. Like, I can upload directly to SoundCloud through my RSS feed, but I can't take down episodes off SoundCloud because it won't let me delete things unless I log into SoundCloud. And I just always forget to do that until I get a boatload of emails like upload error, upload error, upload error. And I'm panicking, and it turns out that my SoundCloud is just full for the 18,000th time. So like I'm done with that. So tell me how I can make your life easier, please. Or SoundCloud's just gonna go away, I think, because yes, it is where I started, and yes, don't forget your roots, and someday I will be back. And like, I'm not gonna take down my account, I'm just gonna take the episodes off, and it'll just exist with a thing on it that says, hey, come listen to me somewhere else. So there's that. There's a little update for you. Let me know what you think of that, please, if you don't mind. It would be very appreciated. Because I'm just cruising along with this podcast, and so here I am doing this morning episode. This is morning session 1. I know I tried to talk about this in the beginning. Maybe I did talk about this in the beginning. Maybe I didn't elaborate on it. Maybe people don't care. I don't know, but I'm going to talk about it. Here's my thought. So I'm going to have these mornings, every, like, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 episodes, that are just going to be sort of like this, just rambles. And I'll talk about anything. And so I think I would like to incorporate, like, things into these mornings. So if you ever have any questions or anything you would like to hear me talk about for a hot second, feel free to let me know. I really need to start a Twitter. That's high on my list of priorities and just something that I haven't done yet. So that may be on the list of things to do today, but I will post a lot of places when I get a Twitter. Hopefully by the next episode I will have one. I can't promise you I'll tweet much. I love Twitter. It's my favorite social media. I run a lot of Twitters, and I run a lot of social media, and I don't know if having a stoner Twitter is a thing that I can do right now, but I will make one. And so if you ever want to tweet at me things or whatever, feel free, let me know, and maybe I'll incorporate that into a Monday morning. Not necessarily a Monday morning, because I'm not going to upload this on Monday. I don't know why I said Monday. In a morning session, because this will go up on Thursday, as do all new Sesh Cast episodes. But I like them, just to get up actually early and actually commit to doing the wake and bake, because it's a fun thing to do every once in a while. And I'm super excited because I'm going to finish this episode and then I'm going to go back to my room and go back to bed for 2 hours. And I am lit about that idea. That's the getting up early, smoking weed, and then going back to bed. Super fun, super great. I'd recommend it to anybody, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm gonna do part of that and smoke some more weed because this bowl is huge. Cheers. Wow. Oh my. Oh my sweet lord. Um, this bowl is huge. Uh, I used to smoke after work with a group of friends, and we would often smoke out of this bowl because it lived in my car for a long time after I got it as a work gift. And we then started calling weed coffee, or like drinking coffee as smoking weed. It was just a little ongoing inside joke thing that we had. But like, you know, hey, you guys want to go for coffee real quick? Like, take a quick coffee break meant something completely different to us, and it's all because of this little guy, which will be a fun picture to take for Instagram, which I've been getting a lot of love on my Instagram lately. So thank you for all of that. I do appreciate that a whole bunch. If you have come to the podcast from Instagram, but I don't have an artist or anything for this thing. It's on the front of it. It says Wake and Bake Coffee Co. And I've seen a lot of iterations of these. There's like a new model that fixes the bowl problem. Like I was whining about my bowl earlier about the angle that it sits at, and the new one has like a bowl that's parallel with the floor, which is great. So I like that a lot. I think that one's purple. I think it's by the same company. And I saw a little mini one of these. It was so cute. Oh my goodness. It was so tiny. Um, and I don't think that it worked. Like I think it wasn't functional or something like that. So I didn't buy it, but I was like close to buying it. Because it was adorable and I wanted to have it. But yeah, so this will be a fun little Instagram picture to take. No artist or anything though. But I hope that you guys like that. So thank you for all the love on the Instagram. It's much appreciated. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I don't know. I'm 15 episodes into this podcast, so maybe I'm a little reflective this morning. It's been really fun so far. Here I am as I round in on a couple months. So it's still early on in podcast world, but like growth has happened, and I've stayed like sort of steady in the growth category. It hasn't been huge, but it's happening, and so that's really cool. And I very, very, very much appreciate everyone who's listening, and especially is listening this deep into an episode, though. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the absolute world to me. I'm really enjoying doing this, which is why I wanted to have this little, like, I don't know, just kind of nothing session to sort of take it and enjoy it and kind of revel in the moment for a second. Like, this is cool. I get to do something I love. I get to have a podcast and smoke weed and incorporate those two things somehow. And for some reason, some way, some people are finding that entertaining, and that's cool. So thank you. Thank you so much. I am sort of in the stressful lifetime of moving right now, or trying to move. And by that, I mean I'm applying to jobs out of the state that I'm currently living, which is a riot, man. I'm in one of the few, like, accessibly legal states in the east side, on the east of the Mississippi. In the W's of the radio world. As I've said before, I'm a radio DJ outside of this podcast, and I'm in the W side, and I'm pursuing moves to the K side of the world, which is the west side of the Mississippi. And that's really interesting and a ride, man. I'm moving really far away from my family if I get a job out there, and I'm in the process of job applications currently. And that's big, man. And I'm moving away from the corner of the country that my whole family is in. And it's stressful. So having this podcast to be able to do this and just chill is cool. I like it a lot. It makes things feel attainable. And as I'm in the process of figuring out my next steps career wise, it's cool to have this thing that I do that I really enjoy doing. And the only way that I could have this and really enjoy doing it is with you and your support. So thank you very much. It is super, super, super appreciated. Every like on Instagram or episode download or email or everything is just, gosh, I don't have words for it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot, and I want to raise this cup and this bowl to you. Cheers. Gosh. So if you enjoyed this little thing, this morning ramble of nothing, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think, if this is something you think I should keep doing, or if you didn't like this episode. Let me know that too, and I'll quit doing them. But I kind of enjoyed it, so I hope you did as well. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you are listening to this in the morning, go out and be good today. Get things done. The hardest thing to do is to commit to doing something. You don't have to accomplish every single thing under the sun in 24 hours, but if you start by knocking off one thing from your list, you can move on pretty quickly and get a lot done. So go out and do that today if you're listening to this in the morning. If you're listening to this at night, I hope that you can do it tomorrow. And if you're listening to this on the way or in the car somewhere and just kind of half listening, snorkel pigs, I hope you're paying attention now. Cheers. My name is GLDLX. This has been Sesh Cast. Thank you so much for listening.